Good evening and welcome to this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal de International. I'm called Maureen. We'll begin with our top stories. A group of disgruntled artists are coming from all the corners of the country have stormed the premises of the Cameroon Musical Arts Corporation, Sonacam, at the Tinga neighborhood in Yaoundé this Wednesday, denouncing the accounting documents or the seal of the artists corporation. And the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform says thousands of fouls can now be treated in his ministry within the space of a week as the digital system gets into full gear. And millions of people in West Africa currently are serving the alert by the 11 humanitarian international organizations say the hunger crisis is as a result of drought, insecurity, and the health crisis and the war in Russia and Ukraine. Those were major stories. Details right ahead. Good evening once more. A group of artists coming from all over the country have stormed the premises of the Cameroon Musical Arts Corporation, Sonacam, at the Tinga and neighborhood in Yaoundé this Wednesday, denouncing the accounting documents or the seal of the Artists Corporation. The forces of law and order were at hand to check the actions of the angry artists. More in the following story with our reporter, Beatrice Ngamo.
The brawl between the angry artists who stormed the Sonacam premises and security guys, stopping them at the gate. In the end, the artists got their way. Their mission this Wednesday twofold: getting the necessary document for the Inspection Council to write its report or close Sonacam office, which they are accusing of embezzlement. For between June and August last year, the Control Council says it noticed an embezzlement of 55 million. Unfortunately, since then, they've been put out of their control mission. But during the last board meeting on the 4th of last month, the Control Council followed some of the finances.
130 millions.
If they had 130 million to share among artists, 32 functioning budget gives total of 162 million. We need to know what has been done, how much has come in for royalties, and how much is remaining in the account.
Sensing danger, the president of the Monitoring Council summoned musical artists.
He has exposed quite a number of things to us, which are things that the artists have been decrying all this while. Misconduct, all what has been taking place within the corporation, calling on artists to take their stand to ensure that there is some bit of sanity in the management of authors' rights in Cameroon.
The artists condemn this recent development.
Few days to the General Assembly, the Inspection Council is asking for accounting documents to prepare the report. Atebazo and his team have refused to do so and has gone as far as suspending the Inspection Council.
The move is seen as manipulation of artists to destabilize the Musical Arts Corporation.
The same who have destroyed SOCAM, the same for CMC, the same who destroyed Sanfan Thomas, now are financing to bring down Atebazo because he is an Anglophone, inviting artists from Douala, Bafoussam and so on to come and create this confusion. The gendarmerie was alerted, but the artists pushed them aside. Reinforcement is coming. We will know if it is the state that controls or dissidents who do not want to accept defeat.
At the time of our report, the artists had not come to any decision yet. They were just hanging around, and neither the security reinforcements also announced was at the side.
The Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reform says thousands of files can now be treated in his ministry within the space of a week as the digital systems get into full gear. New graduates from the teachers training colleges will only wait for a maximum of 90 days for their matricles and full integration into the public service. More on the story with our reporter, Hysen Cha.
The cry of teachers going for years after graduation from higher teacher training colleges without full integration with matricle numbers may soon be a thing of the past. Joseph Lay announces the new time frame for the treatment of files of young teachers from now on.
We have every reason to believe and even to assert that instead of 2 to 3 years or even more, the ENS or NSET graduate should only have to wait 45 to 90 days or even less.
With a tour of the training schools across the national territory, both the ENS and NSETs, the Minister of Public Service and Administrative Reforms preached the new measures to the laureates as instructed by the head of state.
Upon the publication of end of training results, officials of the various colleges will be allowed 1 week at most to forward complete files to their competent Minfopra regional delegations.
Before the press, this April 5th in Yaoundé, Minister Joseph Lay reassures Cameroonians of complete salaries to the pedagogues after posting. Meantime, the digital system, he reiterates, is in full gear at the level of the ministry.
This initiative targeted the processing within 15 days of 8,000 files of teaching staff received in the past 3 weeks from the Ministries of Basic Education and Secondary Education.
The process, which has started with the education sector, government underlines, will engulf all the other core within the shortest time possible.
The impact of major structural projects on territorialized entrepreneurship and decent employment based on the key study of the national hydroelectric power plants, the focus of the second edition of the Forum on Entrepreneurship this Tuesday at the National Assembly, organized by the Network of Parliamentarians to evaluate the level of local developments around such projects. More in the following story.
The people's representative wants to see how their people are part and parcel of major structural and development projects in the country. The case study of this second edition of the Forum on Territorialized Entrepreneurship this Tuesday at the National Assembly is on the Nactigal Dam. Here, the members of the Network of Parliamentarians for the Promotion of Private Entrepreneurship question how local entrepreneurs and neighboring population affected by the provision of activities on their territory can enjoy the socio-economic support and measures, advantages and opportunities offered by the construction of this important hydroelectric power plant. Project officials going through the dam, its access, role in promoting development, explain their support mechanisms, reconstruction of homes and other petty employment. The affected council officials like Jikam Boss were present to enlighten not only the Nactigal Hydropower Company, but the many youths under Minister Issa Chiroma Bakari of Employment and Vocational Training on how to go about enjoying opportunities around such structural transformation projects in the country. According to Celestin Tawamba, goes with the appropriate local specialties, what is lacking among most of our youths. The deliberation chaired by the Senior Vice President of National Assembly, Hilarion Etong, was under the theme, the impact of major structural projects on territorialized entrepreneurship and decent employment based on a case study of the Nactigal Dam. This in line with the implementation of National Development Strategy, which has identified small and medium-sized enterprises like the engine needed for economic growth, employment, and national cohesion.
On this fourth day of Ramadan fast among Muslim faithfuls, the newsroom is interested to know how the Muslim woman ensures the fast meals are well managed despite the increase in food prices across the country. Our reporter Beatrice Gama was at the popular Muslim neighborhood Brikitiri. Her story.
We are in the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, when the faithfuls fast from dawn to dusk. Many had hoped for a more cheerful Ramadan, but the soaring food prices makes things somehow difficult. Rabiatu is a small trader here at the Brikitiri neighborhood in Yaoundé. This year is not really easy like the previous ones. All is expensive now. Meat prices up and others like flour, oil. We don't know how we'll cope this year with the difficult environment. The feeding habit during the sacred month is preparing varieties of different meals. That is, meat today, fish tomorrow, chicken, and so on. We are left with no choice, for without enough money, you can't make a way. Mariam, coming from Okolo Market, does not know how she will cope with the 11 mouths to feed every morning and evening. Explaining in full day, comes back to the price of flour, now 600 francs per kilogram and 550 francs a kilogram of rice and many. She's going home on foot with just 75 francs, not enough for taxi fare. Rakia is a beggar, as they are called. They often enjoy from the sadaqah of fellow faithfuls, as is their tradition, to take care of their families. But the entries of foodstuff, not like in the past, as many struggles to provide enough for their families. The faith of most of the average Muslim faithfuls during this Ramadan period. And as people of faith, they strongly believe Allah will provide as always.
Meantime, 507 Muslim faithfuls are already ready to perform pilgrimage to Mecca City in Saudi Arabia after 3 years of suspension caused by COVID-19 pandemic. The announcement was made by the main officials of the organizing committee during a ceremony at the Central Mosque in Ngaoundéré in the Adamawa region. Saleh Sharif completes our story.
اللهم سلام ومنك سلام وهينا ربنا بسلام.
After 3 years of being on hold to perform pilgrimage to Mecca due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Cameroonian Muslim faithful will be among those to perform this religious journey in 2022. The announcement was made by main officials of the organization committee during a ceremony held at the Esplanade of the Central Mosque of Ngaoundéré, in the presence of imams, administrative and traditional authorities of northern Cameroon.
The fare for this trip is 1,769,000 francs CFA. So in the middle of Ramadan, the 15 days of Ramadan, we have another flight going on from Douala International Airport. So the fare is 1,836 or 39,000 francs CFA, I think. So we have the Umrah pilgrimage open throughout the whole month of Ramadan. So you're welcome to enroll. You're welcome to come here at Sama Voyage and enroll and set your trip for the Umrah.
507 candidates ready, amongst them 300 Cameroonian pilgrims. The pilgrims are said to have paid 1,769,000 francs of CFA for departure from Garoua and 1,834,000 francs of CFA for departure from Douala.
So after the Umrah, the Cameroonian government and the Saudi Arabian authorities, they are still in negotiation as for the Hajj. So the modalities and what is required for the Hajj will be communicated soon.
According to organization committee, registrations will continue till the end of Ramadan, as in the past, and with regards to the next pilgrimage.
And millions of people in West Africa are currently starving. The alerts by 11 humanitarian international organizations say the hunger crisis is a result of drought, insecurity, the health crisis, and the war in Russia and Ukraine. More in the foreign story with our reporter Gladys Ambo Tiba.
There are at least 27 million people going hungry in West Africa, and there are fears the number could rise to 38 million this June. It is the worst food crisis West Africa is facing in a decade.
An estimated 346 million people are affected by food insecurity. That is 1/4 of the population of the continent.
The 11 major international organizations that raised the alert partly blame the hunger crisis on the COVID-19 pandemic, adding that the war in Russia and Ukraine is making the situation dangerously worse.
The effects of socio-economic impact of the COVID pandemic. And what we now see is also rising food and fuel prices due to the conflict in Ukraine. And that is going to further exacerbate this food security crisis that we are now experiencing in Africa.
Conflicts and insecurity, pockets of drought and poor rainfall distribution have also reportedly reduced communities' food sources, forcing hundreds of thousands of people to move to different communities, equally living in difficult conditions. Humanitarian organizations are urging governments to immediately close the $4 billion funding gap in the UN appeal for West Africa to save lives.
We have managed over the weekend for the first time in many months to bring a convoy with 200 metric tons of humanitarian assistance by road into Tigray with food, with especially medical supplies, but also non-food items.
The United Nations estimates that 6.3 million children aged 6 to 59 months will be acutely malnourished this 2022 as compared to 4.9 million acutely malnourished children in 2021.
The Yaoundé Gynecological Endoscopic Surgery and Human Reproduction Teaching Hospital, Cliquez, a FIDE Prey welcomes 2 newborn babies, a baby girl and a baby boy, respectively. Their birth brings a total of 300 babies delivered at the Yaoundé Fertility Hospital through in vitro fertilization. Beatrice Gamo completes that story.
The mission of the Yaoundé Gynecological Endoscopic Surgery and Human Reproduction Teaching Hospital, Cliquez, upon creation in 2016, is to make hundreds of couples have their own babies through in vitro fertilization. In fact, the target set was 300 babies in 5 years. Today, the objective has been met with the delivery of the 300th baby, a boy and a girl weighing 3.20 and 3.60 kilograms respectively, Tuesday.
Happy to see that we achieved the objective of 300 baby borns by IVF procedure. That was our aim when we started working here. Reaching this number at this moment, we have to thank God and to thank the head of state and his wife for their support, and even to thank the whole Cameroonians who supported us by doing this work.
Mission accomplished, being at the service of life, and that needs to continue, opening up other areas of attention as far as women are concerned.
How are we going to manage gynecological cancer in this hospital? Let's run it, which is an important matter too. The next one was the endoscopic surgery. Our objective is almost achieved too. It's a daily job now, because we are performing endoscopic surgery like IVF daily. The next project we have is that we are going to run in the second time the World Congress in Gynecological Endoscopy here from September 26th to September 30th of this year.
She needs to share her own experience with the rest of the world. The Yaoundé Fertility Hospital specialized in medically assisted procreation in the natural role as mother is a gift from the presidential couple, and it is in line with the First Lady's commitment, placing the health of Cameroonians, and especially women, at the center of her engagements.
And that report brings us the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast in the English language on Canal de International. Thanks so much for watching. We have news in the French language at exactly 19h50. Alain Chisler Kanga be coming up next is the brief. As for me, I'll be back same time tomorrow. Good night.